Hello, welcome to Have a Go, and I'm Alan. Now, I spent a bit more time on scraping these ways, and they're at a point where I'm more or less happy with them. As while it isn't solid blue from one end to the other, it does average out nicely across the length of the carriage, so it should be good. This is the setup I came up with for doing this. I've got these two blocks of wood supporting the length itself and the vise holding it in place. So wipe this blue off. Let's put these to one side. You can't see it, but there's quite a few scrapings left on the bench from that. Less from the steel than what I got from the Zamac casting, but still quite a surprising amount. You'd be surprised at just how just going scrape, scrape, scrape takes away quite a bit of material, relatively speaking. That's the back. Turn the back. Right, I need to get this roughly centered. Right, I picked up a big set of various sizes of X-headed bolts. Hashtag not sponsored. And the thought I had was to use M8 all the way down here, basically maker size fashion. It'll go through here and the head will be in the steel plate and the threads will be in this. Right, this is 76mm wide and sorry, this is about 52mm across, so 16 will be about the third. So 16 plus the 13 here should give me 29, if my maths is right. Alright, this is 674 long. Well, I had a pad of paper out here, but I'm blowed if I can find it. So we'll improvise and make do. So 674 long and put the first one in 30mm in, and the last one 30mm in, which will make this length 614. Now the next question being, put that there so I can visualise it. How many do I want in between? It's 9 along, which will give me 18 if I do the ranks of 2. Next problem being 614 divided by 9. Right. 614 divided by 9. 68.2. Hang on. I've done that wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. Yeah, I thought so. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 76.75. So 30 mils in at the end, 76.75 down the here until I get to the other end, at which point there should be 30 mils to the other end of it. 30 mils. Alright, 76.75. In the interest of not drilling through this centre rib and trying to tap a hole all the way down through it, I'm going to offset these two pins here. So one's here and one's there. Hopefully that'll work. Didn't even need the carpenter's rule. Alright, let's dig into the box of goodies. Open the boring bar, all the live centre, all the feeler gauges, all that. Here we go, centre drills. Alright, I'm hoping this goes better for me than it did for Paul's garage. If anyone has any tips on how to do this better, let me know in the comments. I do know that these blocks of wood are not good to have here, but I need them to make up the height because the drill doesn't go down far enough to reach the bed of this otherwise. It won't be a problem when I get to the bigger drill sizes. I get out the big boy drills. Now for an M8 bolt like what I want to use, the major diameter is 8 millimeters, which is this size bolt. However, I think I had better do a step size of 6 mil to drill through this first. Now I need to get this centered and also have the back ways aligned with the ways. So that nice on that side. sawhorse. Right. The interesting part is that you can actually feel the tap cutting the metal. If you're wondering why I'm tapping through the steel plate, it's because the steel plate is actually helping keep the tap vertical. Oh, you can't see it, but I've got a great big grin on my face right now. Let's try a countersink on that one. Then we can put it. Oh, status update. I do have a countersink bit, but it looks like it is the wrong type. So, going to go into town, get a new countersink bit, and then I'll come back. Right, I got a new countersink bit, nice Bosch one, made in Germany, so hopefully this will be sufficient. Not bad, could be better but not bad. I've done my order of operations wrong with this. What I should have done is only drilled the holes for this one, yeah, so the pilot hole, then the capsize hole through while this was clamped together, instead of drilling everything at once. So I did that in the wrong order. So my advice I was given once is to do half a turn on the tap and back it off a quarter of a turn to help clear chips. I don't know how right this is, but that's what I'm doing. This little drill is heating up quite a bit doing this, so I'm going to try the chunky boy and see if that works better. I don't use this big drill because it has a lot of torque and it only has two speeds, low and high. It's on low already, and I'm having to pulse the trigger just so that it doesn't immediately spin up to hell and back. You can also feel the torque grip you when you're holding onto the handle here, which is the reason I don't use it. There's no finesse to it, but when you really need a lot of drill power, that's the one you use. Right, if I've done this rightly, then this centre part where the bolts are should clear the channels of the carriages. Alright, I can now confirm that the 12mm ones do not go through far enough, so I'm going to swap that out for a 16mm. According to the engineer's black book, 16mm is pretty close to 5/8 if you're using Empire units. And for these countersink bolts, that actually includes the length of the bolt from the end of the threads right to the top of the bolt head itself. Whereas with a non-countersink, it only counts the length from the length of the threads themselves, not the whole bolt like with these ones. Right, now that I've got two in there, I can take these clamps off. And I can now move back to the bench rather than on the sawhorses, because I'm not having to work around the clamps like before. Now, this is what I meant before by I made a mistake, because now when I drill the casting rather than the steel plate, I'm going to have to be very, very careful to align the drill bit with the centre of each hole. If I had done this properly, clamp them together and then start drilling through the steel plate, I wouldn't have to worry about that. But because I'm an idiot, or learning rather than idiot, let's say, I am definitely doing something wrong, and I'm wondering if it's because there's so much damn swing on the end of this thing. Make the lathe bed thicker, they said. It'll make it more rigid, they said. Glad I caught that before I broke the tap. That would have been a disaster. I could tell that it was far too hard to turn. I couldn't work out why. Turned out I hadn't drilled the tap size drill all the way down. This is cutting oil that I'm putting on this, by the way, to make the, just to hedge my bets as far as this tapping goes. So I want to increase my chances of success as much as possible, as these are not good taps as such. They're a set of 40 from the hardware store that were pretty cheap for what they are, and so I don't expect them to be very good. And I do have a set of very good tap and dies from my grandfather, but I do not want to learn on them, because I fully expect to break a tap at some point, and I don't really want it to be a set of heirloom taps. I'm going until the pressure increases to where I can't do this one-handed. I'm adding the cutting oil. I'm going to half a turn, back off a quarter of a turn, go forward, back again, and do another half turn, back off a quarter of a turn, and so on. This is not the tap wrench that came with the kit of cheap taps and dies, by the way. It's a Irwin one, because the one that came with the cheap set fell apart within 5 seconds of me playing with it, which did not inspire a lot of confidence. There we go. Paul, I've caught up to you. We'd better get moving. So I'm chasing at your heels. So this is the top of it, all bolted down. This is the back ways, all scraped in. I don't know how well you can see this, but the 16mm bolts poke through the bottom of the casting, while the 12mm bolts only gripping on the first few turns of the thread. There's still a lot of empty thread left in there. So I'm going to have to order more 16mm M8 bolts and take out all these 12mm ones. But for now, the reason I switched to this big boy Hitachi drill is because the other little Chinese one, I could actually see smoke coming out of it with this countersink bit. Right, next order of business will be, or at least after I tidy up, to make patterns for the feet to go under this. So a foot here and a foot there. And this is getting heavier. What's the maximum weight on my scales? Maximum 5 kg. Well, just for a laugh. Overload. Well, I can say it's over 5 kilos, and that's about all I can say. But it's been a very productive long weekend. I'm super happy with what I've gotten accomplished. Right, thank you for watching and have a nice day.